Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions, and I do believe this is the first time to the show. I've been wanting to get this young man on for a while. We were DJing in Austin twice last week, and we even got to the stage where we were both DJing. It was like 4 decks. I mean, we weren't constantly mixing on 4 decks, but it was a good vibe from the warehouse party and stuff. So welcome to the show, Leo, who also, did you win Best Hack as well, again?
I actually this time I won the best speaker
Best
in
speaker,
Paris. Best
yeah,
speaker. Before
yeah,
then, I won the best hack. Yeah, that was Howard's mastermind in Paris. Yes.
that's right. And so, but today then, so we're going to be talking about URLs. Some of the stuff we'll look at the compliancy as well. Leo, do you want to give the audience a background on yourself for the people that don't know you?
Sure, Danny. Well, I think by now most of the people in the Amazon industry have got to meet me in one way or another, whether it's through a podcast. But quickly, my name is Leo. I've been in the Amazon space since 2015. Prior to that, I've been doing e-commerce since 2007. And my expertise is really figuring out how to rank on Amazon. So I'm really passionate about the algorithm. And today I wanted to talk more about URLs. I've done recently a few tests to see if URLs are still working. And I wanted to share a few things with you, Danny. Yes.
Sounds good. All right. So let's fire away. What's some of the tests you've been doing, types of URLs, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, so the point here of the test was to see to what extent Amazon is really able to, almost in real time, understand what type of URLs we're using, if we are manipulating the rankings, and how quickly they're able to detect that and eventually penalize an ASIN. And so what I did, I launched a couple of products recently. I shared a couple of examples and case studies at the VDSS a couple of weeks ago in Austin. And for one of them, I wanted to still use some super URLs or filtered, manipulated URLs to see how far I could push it. And what happened was, at the beginning, I saw a quick boost in ranking, which meant that URLs are still working well. I was actually passing the keywords through the URL and driving sales through these ones. I was also kind of sending different traffic and through different keywords. But then after 3 or 4 days ranking number 1 or 2, I saw that the product was actually nowhere to be found for these keywords. And so there was, to the speed that happened, it kind of made me understand that Amazon has now some sort of an algorithm that tracks unusual behavior, unusual patterns, and they're able to identify this almost in real time. And so if your product is converting higher than the average products for those keywords, you get an instant ban. So that was fascinating to learn.
Okay. And so was that like a complete ban or a timeout? Do you penalize for a period of time or?
So I'm monitoring this now. I believe this is a temporary timeout. Most likely will last a couple of weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. But I'll be happy to share what happens now in the next 2 to 3 weeks with you in the next episode. But what I noticed is that this keyword now is coming back because yesterday I started some PPC campaigns. And so most likely Amazon is now seeing some sort of different type of traffic coming in for the same keywords. And so it's kind of like leveling off what I kind of skewed at the beginning of this launch. Does it make sense?
Yeah. So you think it's just been tapered down for a period of time, and you're saying that the ranking is coming back. And how long did you run for where you see the improvement in ranking and then obviously the sudden drop and the comeback? So if you were to put a timeline to it, did you do this a few weeks ago or last week, etc.?
Yeah, so this all happened in a matter of 10 days.
Yeah.
I started pushing about 10 days ago, 2 or 3 days later, I was already number 2 for some of these keywords. And then 2 or 3 days later, I saw that the ranking dropped again. What I'm noticing is that when I change keywords, these keywords actually do end up ranking high. And so that makes me think that the penalization is obviously at the keyword level and not at the ASIN level, because some keywords do rank better than others, which is great, right? But it's very, very interesting, because what I did do this morning before jumping on a call with you, I looked at the search query reports inside Brand Analytics, and I saw that there are a lot of search queries that were triggering my ASIN, and only few of them were actually getting sales. So that report is very, very interesting, because now it allows me to actually drive traffic in a more kind of like organic way to Amazon, using all the keywords that are meant to generate traffic, instead of just the 1 or 2 that I chose because of the search volume or potential click share and purchase share.
Yeah, and so obviously when you look at the click share and everything else, you see that your ASIN and appeared in the top 3, because if you've got a position of 2, right, on that.
That is correct, yes.
Yeah, so that's where you're monitoring your reports there as well, to look at the conversion share and the click share.
That is correct, yes.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Yeah, no, and I'm going to say, what's next then? What's the plan to retest this? Because obviously what you want to avoid, and obviously this is a commercial podcast where we're trying to make sure that sellers are aware of stuff. Like, these are tests that you're taking place. We're not saying go and test your hero product.
These are
to fight. It's just about the edge of pushing the edge of discovery to see how far the needle could be pushed.
This test was just mainly done for research purpose, to understand how Amazon algorithm has evolved over time, and what, as sellers today, we should be doing in order to rank our products. And so obviously here the takeaway is that manipulated URLs, like Amazon told us back in November last year, are being monitored. And they have a machine learning system in place that is able to track this in real time. And so my recommendation is to diversify as much as possible. Obviously, Amazon knows that when we launch products, we're focusing on certain keywords, because that's how we optimize our listings, and that's what people search on Amazon. So some of these money keywords is what we want to rank for. However, diversifying as much as possible, whether it's the traffic source or the number of keywords that we choose when it comes to launching products, is very important. I was having a chat a couple of days ago with a good friend of mine, and one of the key factors here is ensuring that if you're doing a giveaway, you're not giving away more units than necessary. A lot of these gurus out there, Danny, a lot of these software companies, they tell you to give away 10, 20, 30 units a day, but there's no criteria behind it. And so when you're giving away this many units, obviously you're raising a red flag. If this keyword on average is not generating 30 sales a day for other products in the same niche for the same keywords, right? Then that's so easy for Amazon to detect. And so what you want to do when you look up at the search volume, and now Amazon actually has that data straight into the Brand Analytics and the Opportunity Explorer, you can see the search volume for the past 90 days. You can divide that by 3, and you get the 30-day search volume. You also have the click share and the purchase share. So you can calculate approximately, if you were to be number 1, how many sales you will get for that keyword. And so you don't want to go over the daily number of sales for that keyword. Once you divide by 90, that's what you want to be. And you can almost...
sorry, go on.
You can almost predict that if you get 3 sales a day for this keyword, you end up number 1, number 2.
Depending on the niche. But the other thing is the unrealistic conversion rate when you stop doing the giveaways. because
Exactly.
no one gets 100% conversion rate. That's the other thing that you've got to look at as well, is that obviously people are targeting that, you do the search, find, buy if you choose to do so. If you've got 100% conversion rate, it's a complete red flag because nothing gets 100% conversion rate. And then when you're not doing the giveaways and you don't no longer get 100% conversion rate, what do you think happens next in terms of data pickup? It's obvious there's something tricky going on there. Do you know what I mean? Because you can't day after day, day after day, day after day just get 100% conversion rate. So you have to look, it needs to be inaccurate, if that makes sense. It needs to be varied. There needs to be variables in there for it to be natural.
Absolutely, Danny. I think, here it comes down to choosing the right keywords. Because if you don't choose the right keywords, like the goal here is to choose the keywords that will will eventually generate organic sales.
Yeah.
And so when you're doing giveaways and you now, brought your product to page 1, top, let's say 4, you're supposed to be getting organic sales. Because you can't afford to do giveaways forever. And so when now you stop doing giveaways, unless you start getting organic sales, you're going to see the sudden drop. That's what normally happens. Keywords disappear off the radar, launches fail. And so I think it's very, very important to pick the right keywords at the beginning, because eventually at some point you need to get organic sales coming in, which will offset the giveaway, the number of units that you give away once your giveaway stops.
Yeah, no, indeed. And the thing is down to relevance. Everyone talks about relevant keywords and stuff, but if you break down the literature in A9, I covered this in Austin as well, is that the way that the literature explains, if you match that off, is that there's a background process, which is product type and modifier. So the way that it breaks down how the keywords are attributed in relationship to relevance. They have one is, so I gave an example, I can't remember what it was, growth beard oil, right? So beard oil, right, is a product type that sits in the background that gets run against the system. Then if you add a growth beard oil, growth is a modifier, right? But oil is also a product type. So if you break that down and you use like a scoring system, like we use a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 scoring system, so you've got irrelevant, somewhat related, main niche with a modifier, main niche with 2 modifiers. So if you've got something with, say, like the brand name that attributes to 2, and if it's the main niche on that keyword, that's 3, that gives you 5. So you're working product type and the modifier. And that's how you can really start to dial in. If you would take it from the science literature from the A9 team, that is how they use that as a product type and a modifier. And there's always going to be different product types appearing on Amazon because there's thousands of products going on there and these get updated. But if you can think of things in terms of product type and modifiers, the modifiers where you get in terms of your scoring system, which will improve your relevance. Now, using a point system it falls over in the sense that if you don't know much about the niche or as much as an expert on the niche, your scoring system in relevance is going to be different to the next guy or the next girl. Does that make sense? So a lot of this obviously is when you're picking your keywords does come down to relevance. And I know a lot of people teach in the space their versions of relevant, and that's good as well. But I would say to people, also look how actually A9 works. And from some of the literature, I've shared a lot of this anyway, and I'll probably cover this when the tour finishes. I'll cover this on the show, right? Once it's done, I'll bring in some of this stuff to light because it's worth for everyone to have a look at to match on the basis of the algorithm,
Danny, I couldn't agree more with you. I think everyone should watch one of your lessons on this. You probably should elaborate, a lot more because, I have a perfect example that proves what you just said here. One of the other products that are launched is a card game for kids. And what I noticed is Amazon associated the product to 2 different categories because in my title, I have for kids of ages 4 to 8. And they attributed this product, they associated this product to the pre-kindergarten category, which is not actually what what the product is for.
Yeah.
Because kids that go to pre-kindergarten, they cannot, they're not ready to play a card game, right? So that is actually something that I need to fix now. And so what you just said about the contextuality of keywords and eventually the association to the proper category is super important. Because if you get associated to the wrong node ID, no matter what you do, you're not going to rank for the keywords that you are actually
you won't be relevant, because obviously when ranking works is 3 stages. You've got the in category relevant score, you've got the hunger score, and the other one that escapes me now. But there's 3 parts. Most of this is category related. This is why stuff won't index, because when a search is executed on the back end, it will go through a process of, it will go through there's different various stages. Again, I'll cover it because it's quite in depth, of how the system has been explained by the A9 team, of how it works. Now, it can be updated and changed all the time, right? But this gives you like the foundation of how it breaks down. And if you think the stuff a lot in terms of categories, and believe it or not, a lot of customers on Amazon start their search by category. They will select the category and it makes their life easier. It's the same with, I covered this as well with flat files and the listing itself, because you've got, they call it cities, where it breaks down in terms of tagging. So when you're building out your listing, ranking attribution and relevant attribution is already started before the execution of running the keyword, say, through PPC. It's already started that process, because it has to go through a situational analysis. And in that analysis, they will break down each individual word, and they're scored anyway. I'll break that down a bit later, because it's hard to, you need to show someone with slides. But this is why when we say in the space, we must complete the whole of the listing. We have a flat file, we fill it with all the relevant information, because there's the behavioral aspect, which is a search, and there's structured data. And the structured data is what you do, what I do, what the sellers do, and most importantly, what the catalog team does. That is the structured data. And then the other aspect is the behavioral data, when the search takes place and what the customer does after the search. So ranking actually starts from the literature the moment you set up your listing and you complete all the fields, because they need reference points: male, female, size, colors, dimensions, and everything else. Now, we don't think of those just as a ranking attributes. Yeah, maybe we'll add the color orange in the search term or whatever, but all of those elements are the key aspect of the start basis point of relevance. And then you think about the relationship of the category. So I would say a lot of times when people can't index for something, it's because they're not relevant, because a lot of this stuff is done on a category basis or a subcategory basis.
Yeah, that's very true. And for those that want to learn, I think, more about the data points that Amazon collects, they can just go into the advertising console and see all the segments that now Amazon has available. Those are all data points that Amazon is collecting. That's very fascinating.
Yeah, indeed. So in summary, is there everything else you want to cover here? Obviously, don't try this at home, kids, on a hero product, because Leo's just he's done a kamikaze pilot for testing. But we'll come back to see what the recovery rate is and whether there is a form of getting penalized properly, etc.
Yeah. I think right now I just want to leave everyone here listening to, with the takeaway, which is to be very careful. Obviously, Amazon has already told us not to use two-step URLs or any form of manipulated URL. I would actually, I agree with that. Be very careful doing so. Like I shared also BDSS. A lot of sellers out there are still doing the search, find, and buy. That's fairly safer. But I will share more with you as I get to learn more. Again, guys, I'm just learning. I do this for a lot of this is kind of like my hobby and my job. I love to research, and then I speak at conference sharing what I find. So take everything with a grain of salt. Don't test it on your obviously main product. And I look forward to the next one. And thanks for having me, Danny.
No worries. Best way to reach Leo?
Best way is LinkedIn. I spend a lot of time on Facebook as well, but yeah, if you just search on LinkedIn for Leo Sgovio, you can find me there. Can reach out, and happy to jump on any conversation off of the social media channels.
Indeed. Leo, thanks for joining us today. Look forward to getting you back here in a few weeks. Guys, thank you for listening. Take care of yourself and your family. Much love, and I'll see you again soon.
Thanks, Danny. Good to see you soon.